Stop setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. The world taught you that being loved requires being useful, that your worth is measured by how comfortable you make everyone else, that a good woman says yes even when every part of her is screaming no. The world was wrong. Saying no is a complete sentence, and until you learn to speak it without apology, you will remain a stranger to yourself. She spent 30 years making everyone comfortable. Her family, her colleagues, her friends. She anticipated needs before they were spoken. She rearranged her schedule around everyone else's priorities. She said yes to the extra project, the last-minute favor, the emotional labor that no one else wanted to carry. And one morning, she looked in the mirror and realized she had no idea what she actually wanted. The woman staring back was exhausted, resentful, and hollow. She had forgotten how to say one simple word. This is what the good girl era costs you, not just your time, not just your energy, your very self. You wake up already behind. You move through the day, responding to everyone else's priorities. You say yes when you mean no, and then you resent the people you said yes to. You apologize for having needs. You shrink yourself to fit spaces that were never designed for you, and you call this being kind. But here is the uncomfortable truth. A resentful yes is not kindness. It is a lie you tell others while betraying yourself. And the Stoics, those ancient philosophers, who understood human nature with devastating clarity, they saw through this pattern 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor who ruled 75 million people, while still finding time for morning reflection, wrote something that should stop every people-pleaser in her tracks. He said, "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others." Read that again. You love yourself, you want good things for yourself, and yet when it comes to whose opinion matters, you consistently choose everyone else's judgment over your own. You trust their assessment of what you should do, who you should be, how much you should give, more than you trust yourself. This is not humility. This is self-abandonment dressed up as virtue. Seneca, writing to a friend about how we waste our lives, put it even more directly. People are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. You would never let someone walk into your home and take your possessions without permission, but you let people take your hours, your energy, your attention, your peace, and you call it being helpful. You guard your wallet and give away your life. The ancient world offers us a model of what it looks like when a woman refuses this bargain. Her name was Porcia Catonis, and she lived in Rome around 70 BCE. She was the daughter of Cato the Younger, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers and statesmen of his age. She was raised in a household where philosophy was not abstract theory, but lived practice. Porcia married Marcus Junius Brutus, one of the men who would eventually assassinate Julius Caesar. In the dangerous days before that plot, she noticed her husband was troubled, consumed by secrets he would not share. Roman society was clear about what a wife should do in this situation. She should remain passive, supportive, uninformed. She should smile and ask no questions. She should make her husband comfortable, and trust that the men would handle important matters. Porcia said no to that diminished role. She understood that her husband did not trust her with his secrets because he doubted her strength, so she proved her strength in a way that still echoes through history. She wounded herself with a knife in her thigh and endured the pain without calling for help, without revealing her injury, demonstrating to herself that she could withstand suffering and keep silence. When she finally showed her wound to Brutus, she said, "I found that my body also can keep silence. Therefore fear not, but tell me all you are concealing from me, for neither fire, nor lashes, nor goads will force me to divulge a word." Brutus was so moved by her courage that he prayed to the gods that he might prove himself worthy of such a wife. He shared everything with her. The historian Cassius Dio recorded that Porcia became the only woman who was privy to the plot. She had refused the comfortable role. She had said no to being kept small, and in doing so, she claimed her place as an equal. Now, I am not suggesting you need dramatic gestures to establish boundaries. What Porcia demonstrates is a principle, not a prescription. The principle is this: your first duty is to your own character. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. You cannot be genuinely helpful to others if you have abandoned yourself. And every time you say yes when you mean no, you chip away at the person you were meant to become. The Stoics called this faculty of choice prohairesis, our power of reasoned decision. It is the seat of our moral character, the only thing that is truly ours. When you say no to something that violates your values or depletes your capacity for virtue, you are exercising this sacred inner power. When you say yes out of fear, you surrender it. Epictetus taught that some things are in our control and others are not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, property, reputation, and in a word, whatever are not our own actions. Other people's disappointment when you say no? Not in your control. Their reaction, their judgment, their approval or disapproval? Not in your control. Your integrity, your choices, your commitment to your own character? Entirely in your control. When you say yes out of fear of someone's reaction, you are handing over the only thing you actually own. If this perspective resonates with you, if you are ready to reclaim your power of choice, subscribe to Her Stoic Mind. This is where ancient wisdom meets modern life. Let me offer you 5 practices that can help you end the good girl era, not with drama, but with quiet, consistent choice. The first practice is the pause before response. When someone makes a request, do not answer immediately. Instead, say, "Let me think about that and get back to you." Use this pause to check in with yourself. Ask, "Do I have the capacity for this? Does this align with my values? Am I saying yes out of genuine willingness or fear of disapproval?" This mirrors the Stoic discipline of assent, the practice of not accepting any impression or request without first examining it rationally. The second practice is the time audit. For 1 week, track how you spend your time and note which activities were genuinely chosen versus those you felt obligated to do. At week's end, identify 3 recurring commitments that drain you without fulfilling you. These are candidates for your first number. Seneca practiced evening reflection, examining how each day was spent and whether time was used wisely. you can do the same. The third practice is the I don't reframe. Replace I can't with I don't. Instead of saying, I can't take on that project, say, I don't take on additional projects when my current responsibilities would suffer. The difference is profound. I can't implies external constraints and invites negotiation. I don't asserts values and identity. It grounds your boundary in who you are, not in circumstances that someone might try to change. The fourth practice is the boundary mantra. Create and memorize a personal mantra for when guilt arises after saying no. Something like, a no to them is a yes to me. Or, I am the guardian of my time and energy. Or simply, no is a complete sentence. Marcus Aurelius wrote mantras to himself throughout his private journal, reminders to reinforce philosophical principles in moments of weakness. You need the same tool. The fifth practice is the morning declaration. Each morning, identify one potential situation where you might be tempted to people please today. Mentally rehearse saying no clearly and kindly. Visualize remaining calm even if the other person reacts with disappointment. This is premeditatio malorum, the Stoic practice of anticipating challenges so you are not caught off guard when they arise. Now let me be honest about what will challenge you. Guilt will surge the moment you say no. The voice in your head will whisper that you are being selfish, that you are letting people down, that they will not love you if you have boundaries. This voice was trained in childhood, when your approval was tied to your compliance. It is not telling you the truth. A resentful yes creates obligation without genuine care. A clear no maintains your integrity and sets honest expectations, which is actually kinder. Some people will push back. They have benefited from your limitless availability, and they will not celebrate your newfound boundaries. But consider this. People who leave when you establish boundaries were not connected to the real you. They were attached to your compliance. Genuine relationships can withstand honesty. In fact, they require it. Marcus Aurelius offered this perspective. Ambition means tying your well-being to what other people say or do. Sanity means tying it to your own actions. When you stop tying your worth to others' approval, when you ground your peace in your own choices rather than their reactions, something shifts. You stop performing and start living. Porcia Catonis was called the Iron Woman, not because she was hard or cold, but because she refused to be less than she was. She said no to the diminished role her society offered her. She said yes to her own capacity for courage and wisdom. 2,000 years later, we can honor her legacy by doing the same. Not through dramatic gestures, but through the quiet daily practice of knowing our own worth and choosing accordingly. The good girl era ends not with a dramatic exit, but with a simple, grounded truth. You have permission to protect your peace. You have permission to guard your time. You have permission to say no and let that be enough. The woman you were before you forgot how to say no, she is still there, beneath the performance, beneath the exhaustion, beneath years of giving yourself away. She is waiting for you to finally choose yourself. One small no at a time, you can find your way back to her. Philosophy without practice is merely poetry. Subscribe to her Stoic mind to continue turning wisdom into a way of life. And in the comments, tell us, what would you tell your younger self about the cost of always saying yes?